You guys have been spending sleepless nights debating and debating and debating, and I believe that Cameroonians, especially, I won't say only just Anglophones, there is something being called cessationist and all of that. Blood has been spilling, and people are, I feel, getting weary. Now, what honestly is the object of your fight?
Thank you very much for that question. I want to take my cue from the interview that Barrister Agbobala gave recently on CRTV on the situation of the crisis, in which I think he clearly articulated the notion that the substance of this current crisis is a clamor for a revisitation of the foundations of the union. And I think that is a point of departure that really should make for any meaningful resolution to the current crisis. Anglophones, I know there's been a conversation out there, and a lot of people saying that Cameroon has issues of governance. Biya has been in power for 35 years. There's corruption, widespread corruption, and we have all kinds of problems that we have to attend to. But I think from an Anglophone perspective and from a Southern Cameroon's perspective, people did not go out on the 1st of October and on the 22nd of September to die because Biya has been in government for 35 years. People did not go out and shed their blood because there is bad governance in Cameroon. It has to do with the fundamental realities of being a Southern Cameroonian in the current political context, which essentially means that as a people, we find ourselves being treated as second-class citizens as a result of an arrangement that our founding fathers entered into in good faith under certain terms and conditions, with the understanding that we're going to be creating a two-state confederation built by partners in equal standing, that we're going to be able to prosecute a life together based on a clear understanding of what that was going to entail. Now we find ourselves as a marginalized minority in a majoritarian kind of democratic system, where by simple law of numbers, our voices can never be heard and our issues can never be given the consideration that they deserve. And that is problematic. It has proven problematic for the last 56 years. It's going to be problematic moving into the future. And that is why we are of the view that the Anglophone issue, the Southern Cameroon's crisis, should not be trivialized, treated as one other element of discontent among the multiple things that people think people should be discontented about. Because it is different. It is significantly different. As it stands, the rest of the 8 regions of Cameroon have not yet articulated any issue that they are willing to die for. They have not been able to voice a cause that they consider important enough for them to stop their schools, to stop their activities, to stop their businesses, to lay their lives on the line because they want to see change. And I don't think that just putting up a fight to get President Biya out of power has been cause enough for people to want to die for it. So if they have not articulated that they have a problem, I do not see why options for the resolution of the Anglophone crisis should be taking into considerations trying to resolve a broader Cameroonian problem, because the broader Cameroonian population have not articulated, have not at least decided that there is something that is big enough for them to want to sacrifice for. So that is why options like decentralization, for me, the creation of a 10-state federation, is once more trying to use the Anglophone and their sacrifices to try and fix up Cameroon. If the rest of Cameroon is interested in getting themselves fixed, they should come out clearly, identify what they want to fix, and put their own solutions on the table. As for Southern Cameroonians and as for the current Anglophone crisis, we are of the view that decentralization is not a solution, because centralization has not been articulated as a problem by the rest of the 8 regions. We are of the view that a 10-state federation is not even on the cards, because that has not been considered as anything that of importance from the rest of the 8 regions. They have been majority quiet about what is going on at the moment. So from all intents and purpose and from every indication, they don't have a problem. If their only problem is that Biya has been in power for 35 years, then they should say that and look for ways of resolving that. But they should not hijack the current Anglophone crisis to try and solve the Biya has been in power for 35 years problem, because that is not the problem that Anglophones are articulating. Anglophones are articulating a problem that has to do with their existence in this union that has evolved not along the terms that were initially conceived and conceptualized, and that has brought them to be in this very problematic state. And that's the perspective that we hold on this issue. That is why we are of the view that elections is a waste of taxpayers' money, it's a waste of resources. It's trying to use a solution to solve a problem that is not fit for purpose. The people who think that we can accomplish in one elections what we have not done in 56 years must be living in some bubble of sorts. But it's their democratic rights to anticipate that the solution could come from that direction. For those of us who are squarely focused on this Southern Cameroon's problem, we are of the view that elections is not a solution to the Anglophone crisis. Elections is not the solution to resolving the issue about the conditions under which the union with La République du Cameroun was formed. Those were fundamental issues. They had a specific expectation. Those expectations have not been met, and we are of the view that it needs to be revisited.
Can you go concrete about your word expectations?
Well, there were expectations that we are going to be a two-state confederation made of people of equal standing. There were expectations that would have translated us to have significant substantive autonomy in the management of our affairs. Come
to earth. Those words are a bit too high for the ordinary mind. Significant, substantive, explain yourself.
Substantive autonomy essentially means that we were going to govern ourselves and agree. Anglophones were going to govern themselves. They were going to have institutions of their own, a parliament, and we were going to have a certain degree of local governance. And that as part of a broader federation, there were going to be competencies that were going to be shared by a federal government with responsibilities shared between designated authorities from both regions. So there was never at any point a contemplated structure that meant we were going to have people from La République du Cameroun exercising significant governance influence over Anglophones. That is at the heart of the existing failure. It has been described as national unity. Unfortunately, national unity does not mean anything if you're going to take a Tangana from a blower, train him in Inam, and send him to come and boss people down in Bangem. It just simply translates into a colonial type system of governance that does not resonate with the aspirations nor the expectations of the people. We want to be able to have local leaders that we hold accountable for the outcomes of their approaches to governance. We want to be able to have an Anglo-Saxon system of governance where the people that are given responsibilities to manage the affairs of the state on behalf of the people are directly accountable to the people, and not to a central government in power. We do not want to have people that govern us who feel that their mandate is derived from Yaoundé, as opposed to derived from the people that have placed them in those positions of authority. So those are the fundamental issues.
What's the difference between a person who feels his mandate is from Yaoundé and a person who sees that his mandate is from the people whom he's governing? What's the difference?
The difference would be witnessed in the management and the use of resources. For example, when you take a road project that you're supposed to deliver for the community, and you know that inspectors are going to come from the central government to check, you can divert significant portions of that road budget to be able to bribe your way and corrupt the officials that are going to come and check, understanding that from the central government, reports can be tabled in to demonstrate that that project has been completed, and nobody is going to hold you to account because you have succeeded to get the central authorities under your control, which is a significantly different approach to governance. If that same project was controlled by a local council headed by a mayor and councillors that derive from that community, then you would be in a position to be able to hold those councillors to account, to say this was a budget that was allocated for the construction of this road that was supposed to connect these two markets. It has not been completed. what is happening with this. So there's a sense in which accountability is decentralized. Accountability is taken down to the roots, to the point of impact where these projects need to be executed. And the people who are given responsibility to run those projects are directly accountable to the constituency that has given them the mandate. It's a significantly different approach to governance, and which is the one thing that fits more into the expectations and the aspirations of Southern Cameroonians in terms of the kind of a society in which they want to live and the kind of lives that they see themselves being a part of. Not the current construct where we are like spokes to a central wheel that wields power from Yaoundé. It has not worked, and it's not going to work. And the earlier we realize that, the better for everybody.
The option that you're proposing, is this your own coinage as Southern Cameroonians, or it has worked elsewhere?
The management of minority populations has been conducted in a specific manner all over the world. Now, the fact that you have minority populations that cling to an identity that they choose to define themselves, it's not something that started in Southern Cameroon. It's the same kind of reality that you find in Belgium. It's the same kind of reality that you find in the United Kingdom. It's the same kind of reality that you find even in Canada. And in just those three examples that I've cited to you, those modern advanced democracies have recognized the need to be able to consolidate the sense of identity of a minority population while still keeping them a part of a whole. And it does not require rocket science. Those people have developed models of governance and models of coexistence that entrenches the sense of identity of the minority population, gives them the responsibility and possibility of governing themselves and having access to their resources while still being part of a bigger picture with very clearly set out terms and conditions. Now, this is the difficulty that we are facing in the Cameroonian context. The whole notion that a few people want to sit in the center and define what unity is and is going to be, and then use the barrel of the gun to impose that sense of unity on the rest of the population. And the recent uprisings for the last 2 years is just a manifestation of the fact that Anglophones have come to the realization that this has not worked, and it's not going to work. And we are clearly articulating the notion that we need to revisit the terms of the union as was contemplated in the 1960s. We need to revisit the terms of the referendum, the proposition that Foncha made to the Southern Cameroonians about what life was going to be for them as part of La République du Cameroun has been significantly not realized. And so the expectations have not been met. The people are frustrated and are certainly at the point where they are saying that things need to change. And this change does not need to be cosmetic, because the reason why we are having this crisis repeating itself over a period of time is because every time these things get clamored, cosmetic solutions are put forward. I just remember the Owona Commission that came up with the whole constitution of 1996, because again, that constitution was not a substantive representation of the view of the majority of Cameroonians. There was never a commensurate pressure that came from the population for its implementation. It was about trying to resolve again the articulations of a few people of Anglophones, where they said, okay, let us come up with a constitution that contemplates decentralization. Fix it in 1996, 20 years down the line, 22 years as we are speaking at the moment, nothing has been done about it. That is what happens when change is proposed for a people, when it is not seeded by the demands of the people. There is no one to defend that change. And as Anglophones, we're essentially gotten to a place where we are tired of being the experimental rabbit that needs to articulate for change for the rest of Cameroon, while the rest of the people just wait back and reap of the benefits. If they want to stay in a country that is governed and mal-administered as it currently is, that is their choice. It's something that we are able to respect, but we do not want to be bundled up into this construct where we stand up and articulate issues that are of concern to us, and then a generalist kind of solution is proposed that is not solving the issue at the heart of